Welcome to the family with
Stretch, Gelfan.
And Eddie Barnard.
See, there you go. Now, this just popped up on my screen. I don't know anything about this except that it did happen. Justin Timberlake's lawyer says he's looking forward to vigorously defending him against his DUI charge. Well, good luck to you.
Wouldn't it be great just once if a lawyer said, God, I'm really scared about this one. I'm not looking forward to this at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, that's the most lawyer thing to say. Yeah, of course my client's innocent. Of course
Right.
I'm going to defend him. It's like, what else do you expect a lawyer to say?
Yeah, that's very, very true. So, quote, Justin will have a lot to say at the appropriate time. He is currently awaiting full discovery from the DA's office. Justin is expected in court on July 26th. In other news, he's received support from some famous friends. On CBS Morning's Gayle King said, quote, he's a really, really great guy. You should ask his wife about that, how great a guy he is. Doesn't he cheat on his wife constantly?
Which wife are we talking
Yeah,
about?
that's right.
I've heard he has at least once. Wasn't he supposed to? He was like on ketamine or something, wasn't he? There's something weird.
Yeah, something weird.
Ketamine is pretty big for the depressed stars.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is ketamine?
Well,
actually?
ketamine is
Dissociative.
it's a dissociative drug. So I've talked to people who like taking recreational drugs,
Mhm.
and they'll tell me, "Oh man, I love Molly." You know, they love
Molly.
ecstasy, of course.
Yeah.
they love that drug. Oh, pot's good. Yeah, well, I've
Mhm.
snorted some coke. Ketamine, Jesus, I wouldn't touch it.
No,
Isn't that for like horses or something?
they use it as a veterinary tranquilizer.
That's what I thought.
yes.
Yeah. It's like, what?
And if you take just too much, it's like some scary stuff. You'll start hallucinating and not knowing.
And
who or
law
where you are.
enforcement discovered it a few years ago, and then they just started jabbing people with the stuff, which is not a good idea.
No.
Yeah, but that happened in Hennepin County.
Oh, did it really?
Oh yeah, there was an occasion or two where like they gave a kid ketamine. You know, kids
Ooh.
acting up. Oh, give them ketamine. No, don't do that.
Not a good plan. Ketamine's always had a really bad rep.
But
far as I know.
people depressed people who have, especially if you've tried everything and it's failed, sometimes they try ketamine, and sometimes maybe it works. I don't know.
I have never seen Gayle King on set. I know who she is, but I've never seen the show. But is she completely out of her mind? He's a really, really great guy. He's not an irresponsible person. He got behind the wheel drunk. How much more irresponsible can you be?
Wait a minute. He's looking forward to his court
Defend-
appearance.
That's true.
Where he'll explain the whole thing.
He's not reckless. He's not careless. Clearly, this is not a good thing, but he knows that. Driving drunk, there is never any excuse for that. So let's get back to careless and reckless.
So she's basically all over the board on this one.
Yes, absolutely. Billy Joel was interviewed by a local. Oh, I saw this. I actually saw the video on TV last night. Billy Joel was interviewed by a local news station where Justin was arrested. All he had to say was, quote, "Judge not lest ye be judged."
Okay.
I bet.
Yeah, okay.
I guess that's sort of a pretty good way of evading the question.
Mhm.
Pretty much. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Conor McGregor also gave Justin some love. He shared a photo of his mugshot with the caption, quote, "Free JT."
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean free JT? He
He's-
was driving drunk, for Christ's sake.
It's not like he's incarcerated.
No, he's not incarcerated. That's the other thing.
What
You're
did he
absolutely right.
spend? Like 10 minutes in jail or something?
Probably. And I guess when they arrested him, they were on the way to the squad car. He said, "Man, this is going to really wreck my tour." Well, then why'd you do it?
Hey, it's just giving him more publicity. He'll be fine.
Andy was
Honestly, probably.
what group was he in? Do you guys know what he was in?
It was in the.
Was he?
Was NSYNC
Was he
or-
in sync?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. More of a kids group, right?
No, Andy, was that the one where Alex's friend asked him a question, Justin Timberlake a question, and he couldn't understand what she was saying?
I believe so. Yes.
pretty sure
Yes,
there-
he was in NSYNC, and NSYNC is who they went and saw.
Okay, so
Mhm.
back when I was, over at the Q, and I used to be in the radio business, the record business, excuse me. So I know all the record guys. So Alex was what, about 12 years old at the time?
If that.
Yeah, maybe 10. She might have been 10. And she wanted to bring, I won't say the name of the kid because of what did happen. She's a great kid, no question. But this was out in, she grew up out in Dayton, Minnesota.
Mhm.
So when you get out of the exurbs, you get some different accents. There's no doubt about
Really?
that.
So there's a Dayton accent?
Oh, God, yes.
Is it like a Canadian thing or what is it?
Well, I'll give you an example of what she said,
Okay.
because Justin Timberlake did not understand one thing she said. They said, anybody have a question for Justin Timberlake? And she put her hand up. So they said, okay, young lady with your hand up there, what would you like to know? And Timberlake looked at her, and he's about from me to you. So I'm about more than that, about 4 feet away from Mike right now. She looked at him and said, what's your guys' favorite food? And he said, what? What's your guys' favorite food? And he's like, looking around going, what is she saying?
I couldn't get the last word. I was up to the last word.
Food.
Food. Okay. Yeah, I didn't
What's
get
your
that.
what's your guys'
Food.
favorite food?
What's
Food.
your guys' favorite food?
Yeah.
He couldn't understand.
That's wonderful.
He's like, oh, I have no idea what she's saying. Oh, God.
So now is Britney Spears weighing in on this thing?
I don't know, because they used to be together, weren't
Yeah.
they?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then he's married to Jessica Biel. Is that right?
Yes.
I think that's who he's married to.
Mhm.
But hasn't he cheated on her a bunch of times too
I know I would.
Apparently.
with Jessica Biel?
I'm just kidding. I know nothing about her except she's very attractive.
She's a very attractive woman. There's no question about it. But yeah, apparently his lawyer, he did nothing wrong.
Mhm.
Well, then why do you have alcohol in the system and got behind the wheel? How do you defend someone you know is guilty?
You plead.
You just you plead it out.
In
That's
his
it.
case, he needs to plead the fifth rather than drink it.
Yep.
Oh, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, just hold on to your hat. It's Mike Gelfand. That's all I have to say. Yeah, I just don't understand that whole. First of all, he's worth about $300 million.
That's all.
What you call a tax? I mean, he's probably more than that now. You're probably right.
He's had some smash
He
movies.
sure
Oh,
has.
God,
He's had a lot of success.
Andy, would you look up and see what his net worth is now? Because maybe it is more than that now.
That would be plenty, though.
300
yeah,
million?
you
Yeah,
don't really
enough.
need
I
more
could get
than
by
that.
on that.
You could get by on 300 million, really? Are you sure?
Well, I'd obviously I'd have to downsize.
Yeah, that's true.
Somewhere around 250 million.
250.
Mm,
So
it's
he's
still
lost.
okay.
So he's lost some money.
Still
on 50.
doing fine.
Yeah, but he's still doing fine. So yeah, but seriously, I don't care how much. And I guess before he left the bar, he was going around stealing other people's drinks.
Oh, that's good. That's
It's
probably why
not-
he got busted.
Not a good sign.
Could be.
Somebody probably called the police and said, "Bust this guy. He's stealing my martinis."
Exactly right. I wonder, I bet you maybe that might have been part of it. Who knows?
Could be.
Was he weaving down the highway? It doesn't really say how he was driving, but he, something.
Why is he driving?
I don't know. You got $250 million. Why don't you call a taxi? Why don't you call Uber? Lyft.
Or a chauffeur?
A chauffeur. Why don't you get a chauffeur? That's a good idea. But I don't understand people who think like this. I don't know. He's not very loyal to his wives or girlfriends or whatever.
Mm.
He's very impressed with himself. I will tell you that.
It's we talk about this all the time, but the real culprit here is access.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I just so much temptation.
Nope. Andy, I don't think anybody in our family ever got a DUI. Matter of fact, I know in your mom, your dad, you and Alex, no DUI. So, but you're not worth 250 million. How are you doing it right?
Mhm. Yeah, 250 million can buy you a lot of alcohol, especially if you
I
just
would
buy
think
Kharkov with it.
Buy Kharkov with it. Yeah, probably true. I mean, I understand why people like Billy Joel and Gayle King and trying to defend the guy, but you really can't defend him. He does a lot of things. I mean, there are pictures of him sitting around like hanging all over women, and he's been married, twice now, I think. Jessica Biel. Wasn't he married to somebody else before? Well, you brought up the fact he was with Britney Spears, and
Yeah.
that he cheated on her, I
He's
think.
with Britney Spears, but he has only
Never
ever married Jessica Biel.
Oh, so he was with Britney Spears, but never was married to her?
Yep.
Whatever happened to her? Didn't her father have to take over her estate because she went off the deep end or something?
Oh,
that was
yeah.
Britney Spears.
But I think
That's what I'm
I
saying,
think she
yeah.
finally got everything back.
Or
Yep.
did
I
she?
think so.
I think so. Yeah, she went a little crazy for a little while, and now she's better. But her dad wants to keep control of her or something. I don't really know.
It's just one of those deals. And for our younger listeners, do not ever drive drunk. Nothing good can happen from
This is
driving
true.
drunk.
No.
A
A lot of horrible shit.
There's no question about it. I just don't do it. There is no reason on earth to do that kind of thing. Right?
That said, I may have done it when I was like 16.
16 years old.
I think by the time I was 17, I knew better.
I got to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever known one Jew that ever got a DUI. It's not very popular in the Jewish community to do DUI, is it?
Well, that used to be the case. I think we pretty well assimilated at
You've
this point.
assimilated now, so you're committing crimes.
It's too bad if last week we could have called Joe Friedberg and asked him.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I saw that, as a matter of fact, Dan Barrero and Mark Rosen were quoted in something about, but Joe, as you know, Joe and I used to be really good friends back in the day.
Speaking of which, I have to shout out Joe in Louisville and Charlie in Albuquerque.
Why? What's going on?
I was going to put out a lost episode, the Joe Friedberg episode, because he was on our show in the very early days.
Yes.
But it wasn't in the archives.
Why?
Just the archives are incomplete. So I contacted Joe and I was like, do you have it? And he's like, no, I don't have it. I'll contact Charlie. And it turns out Charlie had it.
Wow.
He did?
So we have the MP3 and I'm going to be putting that out this weekend.
Yeah, we used to hang out a lot. Well, actually, we used to meet at, God, I cannot remember the name of that restaurant, Italian restaurant down in, it's not in Palm Beach. It's in one of the northern
Olive
areas.
Garden.
Was not Olive Garden, I can promise you that. But Joe was always a really, really good guy. As a matter of fact, when Ron Rosenbaum died, I spent a lot of time with Joe and trying to tee stuff up and all the rest of that deal. But I always did like Joe. Joe had a side to him. There's no question about that.
I had a lot of good discussions with him at the track. The problem was he wouldn't look at me when we talked because he didn't want his wife to see him talking to me.
Why?
Well, because his wife and I had some bad words between us. Why? Well, it all started, we were just sitting around a table schmoozing, and then she decided to attack me basically because of the morning show.
Oh, because she didn't, well, she had never attacked me for that.
Well, no, they always go after what they consider to be the right ones, However, I did not take it sitting down or silently. No, the thing was, it all started with Denny Green.
Oh God, what a pain in the ass.
Of course, we always had fun with Denny Green.
Yes, because he was an asshole.
But he was. I'm sure he still is. But he was a client. He was one of Joe's clients.
Oh, Denny was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So she was, his wife she took care of the business side of the thing,
Oh, okay.
And so that was good. It worked out for them. But she obviously was mad because we had a lot of fun at Denny's expense, and Denny really just waded into it,
Yes, he did. There's no question.
So that's how it all started. And she accused me of being a racist because when she asked me what I thought about Denny, I didn't say he's the greatest coach in the history of football.
He's a terrible coach.
Well, I just think he's a coach,
He can't win the big one.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, well, of course, neither could Bud Grant.
No, you're right. And I would say the same thing. Bud was nowhere near as good a coach as everybody.
No, he was overrated. So,
no doubt.
So, so she said, well, what do you think of Denny? And I said something like, he's okay, something like that. And then she accused me of being a racist for not saying he was wonderful.
Why would you be racist? That makes no sense.
No. And I basically, I was supposed to say, gee, I don't know. But what I said was, I know that through Joe, you got a lot of power. You control who he talks to and what he doesn't. But I don't have to take that shit.
No, you don't.
And I didn't. And so he was not allowed after that to talk to me. So we'd be talking at the track. And so, if Joe and I would have a discussion, but he would turn his back on me immediately because he didn't want his wife to see him talking to me.
What? Stand up, Joe. Come on,
well,
man.
I didn't blame him for that. I just thought it was kind of funny. But Joe, the thing about Joe was he was obviously a great attorney.
He was, yep.
But the key to his success was actually his salesmanship. He could sell any alibi.
Absolutely.
And that's how he got rich, was because of the Dalcon Shield case. You remember that?
I do remember that.
So Dalcon Shield was, I think it was an IUD, right? It was a birth control device. And a lot of women got pretty sick from it.
Right.
And Joe heard about it. And Joe said, he immediately saw that this was like $1 billion lawsuit waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And but it would take, to do something like that, it could take you hundreds of millions of dollars to get to court. So he sold the suit to a company, a law firm that could do it. And he would just go around and he would talk to women and he would get their names and he'd get the information. He basically was like an investigative reporter as well as a great lawyer. And so here's a story that I heard from a couple other lawyers. I never asked Joe about it, but it was a famous story. And that was that he's in a restaurant and he's at the bar one night and he's talking to women and he finds a woman who was injured by the IUD. And so supposedly, and I don't have any doubt that this happened, supposedly he said to her, "Lady, you got a cash register between your legs."
He actually said that
Well,
to
that
somebody he
was
didn't know?
That was the story. Well, he had met her, 5 minutes earlier.
Oh, 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, that was Joe. He wasn't hitting on her. He was trying to get some money out of the whole thing. And so eventually, there was a class action lawsuit. And I can only assume that it was like $1 billion settlement or something.
You know what amazes me about this, and I got to throw it in very quickly. As you know, I have several friends that are lawyers. They're good friends of mine.
I do too.
I really enjoy them. But most lawyers are the biggest scumbags I've ever met. I'm sorry, but most of them are.
Yeah.
They will do anything
Lawyer
for
jokes
money.
are, a staple of society.
They are for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's
it's like, it's like the joke. What are 100 dead lawyers?
a start.
And the answer is a good start.
A good start. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. No, I've got friends who are lawyers and they're really good folks, but I haven't known the other kind.
Well, Shakespeare even wrote about kill the lawyers, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Shakespeare actually wrote about it. So I've known a number of, real good friends of mine who were lawyers and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I have had lawyers stab me in the back like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
I mean, all for money too, by the way. It was all for money.
And when I many years ago, when I sued MetLife, as I like to call them, and somehow I won.
But somehow I won.
Well,
okay.
it's the whole thing is really, I mean, every rule, every law works against the common guy.
There's no question.
Because the lawyers make the laws.
Absolutely.
But somehow I overcame that. And I think I just had a great judge who, by the way, was a far right kind of guy.
I love judges.
But this
I got
guy,
no problem with judges.
No, this guy was very fair.
Yep.
And he had been like I think he had been a clerk for
Scalia.
Was it Scalia? It was Scalia. I was thinking of Alito at one point, but yeah, it was Scalia. So I thought I'm dead. But the judge was very fair. And the big snooping lawyer, he was a local guy. He was their local guy. And he seemed like a very nice guy, despite the fact that his name was Hitler.
Well, Hitler is close enough.
Yeah.
Wasn't Adolf, was he?
No.
Well, that's good.
Well, maybe it was, but maybe he changed it to
changed his name to Tim.
Changed it to Paul or something.
Yeah, Paul.
But I thought there I'm thinking, okay, so let's see. The lawyer is named Hitler, and the judge used to clerk for the farthest right Supreme Court justice ever.
Yeah.
I won. I don't know how it happened.
Well, you won because you won. That's
also, I didn't get $1 million settlement or anything.
No, it wasn't a big pile of dough.
No.
Let me ask you a question, because I've been thinking about this since you brought it up. Why is it that Minnesotans do not understand what the KQ Morning Show was? They will never understand that. I mean, you talk about very loyal listeners, Minnesotans. There is a section of Minnesotans that are the best people I ever met, and a section of them that are the worst people I've ever met. Do they realize how that show got to be the highest rated radio show in America?
Well, but remember, even if they knew at one time, they have now twisted it. Because we see that in politics every day now.
Yep.
I mean, now they're about half the population thinks that the January 6th insurrection was just a nice, gentle day at visiting the Capitol.
But by the same token, I know a guy who thinks 200 people were killed on January 6th. No.
Well, I haven't heard that, but
well, see, there you go.
It doesn't shock me though.
No, of course not, because that's how people are.
Yeah,
it's going to go my way if I have to twist it and turn it.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's like that, but yeah, I that's the one. Maybe someday I actually should write a book about the KQ Morning Show, because you people were incredibly loyal. I still run into listeners who don't know I have a job because, KQ had to F that up. But that achieved something. First of all, Boone and Erickson had a huge show in the morning on CCO when we started.
Oh
that
yeah,
show.
the cornball humor.
Yeah, which was what they needed
You
at
know,
the
the
time.
Ole jokes.
The Ole jokes were huge.
But
there's no question.
people loved them.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely loved them. Had the huge show and all the way, and they were certainly an inspiration. Steve Cannon, who was a good friend of yours, I knew Steve, brilliant on the radio for their time.
Yeah.
Same with the KQ Morning Show. For its time, it slaughtered everybody.
Oh yeah.
Including Howard Stern. We kicked the shit out of him, which was a good thing. I still don't understand why it is that everybody loves Howard Stern. The guy spent about half his life in blackface. Why did he get away with that?
I don't know.
It just makes no sense. But no, I just, maybe someday, maybe you and I should sit down and write a book together about what that was really all about.
Yeah.
Because it was not easy, first of all, to get that done. But thanks to the very loyal listeners in Minnesota, it did get done. But people on the opposite sides of it, whether it was political or was a competitor or whatever, hated that show so much.
I mean, look at all the people, all the radio people who came along and said, I'm going to bury those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Give me 6 weeks.
Yeah, they all did.
And then that didn't quite happen.
But I mean, I grew up listening to Boone and Erickson
Sure.
on WCCO.
Because your mom listened.
Because my mom listened to them, and they were very, very popular. And I paid attention to what they were doing. I mean, that show was huge, and basically the foundation of the KQ Morning Show was kind of Boone and Erickson like.
Except we ridiculed them.
Yeah, which they didn't mind, by the way. Neither Charlie nor Roger ever cared about.
But it was pretty gentle.
It was gentle. It was not severe or anything like that. No question about it.
But I was told that I was only told this, so it might not have been true. But that what's the guy's name? Dave something. Remember him? The guy from North Dakota. One of their guys from North Dakota. He did this kind of thing.
I think he was an announcer where?
At WCCO. I think he
Dave?
took over the morning show at one time.
Oh yeah, Dave Lee.
Dave Lee, yeah.
Dave
So
Lee.
I used to do my Dave Lee. It was just like an ordinary puke, DJ
There
puke
was,
thing.
yeah.
And but I was told that he said terrible things about me, but maybe it's not true. I don't know. I never met the guy.
I met him a few times. He seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah, everybody said he was a pretty nice guy. I don't know.
Didn't like Gelfand. Maybe he was an anti-Semite, like the rest of the world is now. How are you dealing with that, Mike? We'll segue into that. As you know, I grew up in a Jewish, Black, and Catholic neighborhood. I've always gotten along with Jews my whole life.
And my mom grew up in the same neighborhood.
The same neighborhood. That's exactly right. Mark Rosen was born right down the street from where I lived at one point. I can't understand what is going on in this country where every major university is now a bunch of anti-Semitic assholes. What happened?
What happened is history.
History?
It's always happened.
It's always happened. It's true. You're right.
You can't get comfortable.
But you think
if you know history.
You think we'd know better now, Mike? It's been how many times now?
Yes.
Going through this?
Look at it this way. Yesterday was Juneteenth Day, right?
Yes. Yep.
And I celebrated. I really honestly did by reading up about the Civil War.
Okay.
I'm into the Civil War right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I read about the Civil War, I realized the South did not lose it. They're still fighting it.
They are still fighting it. You're absolutely right about that.
They will never give up. They loved those slaves. Well, they hated them, but they loved them.
Yeah.
They needed them. Because all those plantations were built on the backs of the slaves. And all these incredibly rich people, planters as they called them.
Yes, right.
They would have just been out in the field with a subsistence salary at best if it hadn't been for that. So yeah. So they want that kind of thing back. That's why every southern state has to abide, and they don't like it, by the U.S. mandate of $7.25 an hour minimum wage. If they didn't, it'd be like $3 an hour.
How the hell do you live on $7.25 an hour anyway these days?
Well, they don't. That's why
you can't.
That's why we in the North send so much money to the South.
Yeah, that's very true.
We are givers; they are takers.
I don't think people know that, by the way. Or they just don't pay attention.
Yeah, no, it's because the economic system they have in the South really doesn't work very well.
No, that's true.
And look at what's happening now. That just reminds me about what's happening in Louisiana. Have you read about that one?
What is it now?
Well, in Louisiana, the legislature and the governor have passed, and the governor will sign it, a law that says that every public school classroom has to have a placard or something, a mural maybe of the 10 Commandments has to be in every classroom.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because what's happening more and more lately these days, and with the Supreme Court going along with it, is that the Constitution is not in favor right now.
No.
These are people, and we have Supreme Court justices who feel the same way, who believe that the Constitution is unconstitutional, and it's all about they want to go back to Jesus should have the laws defined. Not
Well, how would Jesus even know this?
we wouldn't.
Well, exactly. So, I mean, what are they talking about?
That's it's just a symbolic thing. But the thing is, people are upset that all these children are going to be forced to have this religious placard in their classroom. You don't have to worry. The kids in Louisiana can't read.
I can't read anyway. That's true. That's a good point.
So they just mellow out.
I never cared about that kind of thing. They taught this, that, and the other thing. I kind of went, okay, well, I don't really believe that, but if that's what you want to teach, good for you.
Yeah, well, it's I think probably the biggest problem here is it's the slippery slope thing.
Yeah,
and in the South, billions of dollars go to parochial schools.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the way it was supposed to be. I have no problem with parochial schools. I just don't want my tax money going to them. And I don't care whether it's a Jewish school, a Catholic school, Lutheran. I just don't care. I want my money going to public schools. But now they've got the laws there where the private schools just suck up all the tax money.
Well, we're spending $100 billion a month now, so that's going to really help things too. $100 billion a month we're spending right now, and why?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's an election in the fall. That's why we're trying to buy votes like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I mean that's something that should sort of serve as a liaison to both parties. They should be getting together on this.
You would think so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's sickening. It's sick and it's sickening. And who let this happen? Supreme Court.
Yeah. Well, that's always been a questionable outfit. There's no question about that. I the whole thing just it makes me sad that we have to even go through this stuff.
Yeah.
Even as a child, and I remember I got in trouble in third grade because I argued with the priest about what was happening and what wasn't, and then I got in pretty big trouble for that. But I don't. If you want to be religious, whether it's Catholic or Jewish or Lutheran, whatever the hell you are, if it makes your life better, good for you.
Yeah.
But you don't have to shove it down my throat.
Well, every religion, and I'm not knocking religion here, but every religion is based on a myth.
No question. Now, if any of that stuff comes true someday, I'll go, you know what? Mike and I were wrong.
Yeah.
I just it's just such a weird deal that you have to, not only do you have to believe in this religious figure, but you have to believe in it the way I do.
Yeah. Well, right.
If you do it at a different angle, then I don't get you wrong.
Eventually the myth just gets twisted.
Yes.
For the I don't know, the splendor of the religion, and sometimes, let's face it, the money.
Oh, it's always about money.
Yeah.
Andy, how's it going in your age group? Do people ever talk about things like religion and that kind of thing?
Not really.
I didn't think so. I didn't think that was probably
generally
happening.
That's kept to yourself.
That's the way it used to be.
Yeah, it was.
That was before mega churches and all that stuff.
Mega churches. Talk about money.
Yeah.
Woo.
Mega churches are not looked well upon by my age group.
Well, and the mega church myth, or the mega church brand, I should say, just took another hit this week. I don't know if you read that story.
No, I don't know if I did.
Oh, some mega church guy, like he had, like one of these things where they had like a 20,000 seat auditorium.
Ooh.
And cable shows across the world.
Now, was there a place to park their jet?
Well, there always is that. Well,
gotta have that.
And
they just have the jet in a holding pattern above,
just flying around.
The jet's at the airport, but the helicopter pad is there.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy then, who was the main guy at this industry, I would call it, the mega church. He just, I think did he quit? I think he might have quit, stepped down, because it turned out that, as he put it, he had been having a
Relationship? Sure.
with a young woman. Well, it turned out she was 12.
12?
Yeah. And he was at least groping her.
Oh,
This was many
God.
years ago,
Oh,
but
God.
now it's come to light. And so now he's having a little bit tardy his come to Jesus moment.
So who is this guy?
I can't remember his name, but it's a big headline these days. I don't even like reading these stories, but
No, I
it's
understand
everywhere.
that.
It's splashing all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know why that whole deal. Well, my favorite religion story, my mother was an ardent Roman Catholic, and turns out the reason she was, I found out at the end of her life, is just try to give the kids some hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we were very poor, lived in a very tough neighborhood, all the rest of it.
Sure.
So by being religious, she thought she would give us hope that even if you're going through this, someday you'll be rewarded with heaven or whatever.
Mm.
And I found out on her deathbed, well, 2 weeks before I saw her, I was out of town when she died, actually. As a matter of fact, Vince Flynn's, he's been dead 11 years as of yesterday.
Yeah, I just read something about
11
that.
years
I know
he's
it
been
kind of
dead.
hit me. He was a really sweet guy.
He was. Vince Flynn's a
He
great
and I
guy.
were totally opposites politically.
Yeah.
But I always look forward to chatting with him.
Yeah, he's a great guy, no question. He's the one who called me and said, Tom, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your mother just died.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, that was a tough road. And then I find out he died. He's been dead 11 years. Andy, do you believe that?
Yeah, well, he was on the show in the very beginning. And
Yep.
then, so, yeah, I mean, that was 12 years ago. And then.
Yeah, way too soon. But
Mhm.
prostate, right?
Yep.
Prostate cancer.
Yeah, because it hits
Exactly
you
right.
early.
But
That's bad.
here's the wonderful, I adored my mother. She took care of us.
Yeah.
That's why people still have problems with me because I don't relate to men in power. I relate to women in power because that's how I grew up, right?
Yeah.
My mother, last time I ever saw her, I'm holding her hand and she said, Tommy, I know you got to go out of town. And I just, I hope I'm still alive when you get back. I said, oh, Mom, don't worry. She said, well, I might not still be alive when you get back in 2 weeks. I said, well, I think you will be, but if you're not, I wouldn't worry about that. You can go up to heaven and see God and you can meet Jesus. And there was a long pause and she goes, yeah, don't give me that. That was my mother right there.
My mother and father, they never talked about it, but clearly they were agnostics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a little farther. Basically, I mean, the Holocaust changes people's minds.
Oh, yeah.
And so, obviously they knew a lot of people who died in the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't have to know anyone to know what was going on. And so, but my mother, when she was dying, she did the W.C. Fields thing, the story about Fields. Right?
Yes, that was a great story.
Yeah, he's reading the Bible. Someone comes in to visit him. He's dying. He's reading the Bible. And he was, of course, a hardcore atheist. And the friend of his said, Bill, what are you doing, Bill? You're reading the Bible. And he said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm looking for loopholes.
Looking for loopholes.
That was my mother. She was looking for loopholes.
Well, we always, would be wonderful if the whole Jesus,
Yeah.
God, the whole thing, if it maybe we're all wrong, and that'd be wonderful if it was true.
Mhm.
But to harm people because they don't believe what you believe is the exact opposite of what God would want you to do. Anyway, if there is a God, they don't want you. Well, Andy, again, this is a generational thing. People relish harming other people now. If they can somehow hurt someone else because you don't believe what I believe, they love that. Why?
Because they love dirty laundry.
That's it. That's the answer right
Kick
there.
them when
ladies
they're
and
up, kick them
gentlemen.
when
Power.
they're down.
Kick them when they're up.
It's power.
It
And
is
how do you
power,
get power?
Yeah.
It's with money.
There's no doubt about
And
it.
now they've taken hate to a new step, a new level.
No question, Mike. I've never seen this much hatred. Never.
No.
I got to tell you guys something. The first thing I brought up in the morning show this morning, I went for a walk. I drove over here. First of all, I went over and dropped off a load at the new house. I do that every morning about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I'm coming over today to load up the van.
Oh, you are
with
today?
Stuff.
Okay.
Hopefully, it's going to be the last of it.
Did you hear what Mom did to me, by the way? Luckily, I caught it before it happened. You know that big red boxing glove that I have? It's literally this big and it's this deep. It's huge. It was sent to me by Harvey McKay.
Yeah.
Because and she had thrown it in the stuff that was going to be taken away to the dump.
Wow. No.
And I'm like, whoa. You know who autographed that glove for me?
Oh, the king himself?
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I said, honey, this has been autographed by Muhammad Ali, my hero when I was a little boy. It's Muhammad Ali's actual signature. And I can't even tell you how much that glove might be worth.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
But more importantly, what's it worth to you?
Oh, it's everything.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali was look, I literally learned how to do what I'm doing right now by imitating Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
I did.
I
There's
remember.
no question about it.
Yeah.
There's no question. And the reason he sent me the glove was I recorded that song, King of the World, which became a big hit, pretty much everywhere. And I did the imitation of him on it. And everybody is telling me, he said, man, I thought it was him. I literally thought it was Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, you had that one nailed.
But knowing that I actually recorded a song as Muhammad Ali, the song did very well. Ricky, one of the Peterson family, Ricky Peterson was the one who wrote it and produced it and all the rest of it. He's just a great guy. I haven't seen Ricky in years now, but looking back at that, knowing that Muhammad Ali was my hero as a kid, probably got me through some times thinking if he can get through it. One of the things I admired about him the most, because he was a black man in America today, for younger people who might not even know who Muhammad Ali was, Cassius Clay at that time. He won the gold medal in the Olympics, went home to Louisville, Kentucky, and threw it off the bridge into the river.
That's right. Yeah.
Because he just felt that black people were not being treated well in America, and he wasn't proud of that thing.
Yeah, and of course, growing up in Louisville wasn't even safe for a guy like that.
No, God.
I mean, he was a really strong guy, a great boxer, but he wasn't safe there. You go to the wrong block.
Yeah.
That might be the end of it.
Mike, his house is up for sale for $1.5 million in Louisville, the one he grew up in.
Yeah. That's a lot of money for a 800 square foot house.
It is. You're absolutely right. A little shack sitting there on the corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank God I found that. I happened to just notice it. And it's like, honey, she said, that thing's hideous. I said, I'll put it upstairs. You'll never see it again, but there's no way. I can't even imagine how much, if I sold that, how much I'd get for that thing.
Oh yeah. Listen, I have no doubt that my mother threw out a classic, almost a perfect Willie Mays rookie card.
Oh, not Willie in this week.
Yeah, and yeah, it comes back to me. I think about that. But Willie Mays, he was the guy. He was the guy who I worshipped more than anything.
I understand.
When I was 4 years old, my dad got me the Willie Mays autographed, in quotes, glove. And I wore that. I played baseball, softball with that glove probably till I was about 9. And then at that point, I think my hand, which is not big, was bigger than the glove.
Really?
Yeah, it was a tiny little glove, but I loved it because it was a Willie Mays glove.
I had the pleasure of actually meeting him for about 2 minutes one time. What a nice man. Just a really, really nice guy.
Yeah, he was, and he went through a lot of hard times.
I have no doubt about it.
I mean, he was born in 1931, so that tells you what you need to know.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to see him play, and I never got to do it until about I think it was 1973, when I saw the Cubs play the Mets. He was with the Mets then.
Oh yeah, to finish his career there, didn't he?
Yeah, and I saw him at Wrigley Field on a day when there was about a 30-mile wind blowing out. And I think Willie hit 2 home runs, and I think Billy Williams hit a couple too.
Yeah,
the great Billy Williams. That was like when I think of all the baseball games I've witnessed. That's the one I think about the most. I don't think about the Twins winning this or that. It doesn't mean anything to me, but that means something to me.
Do you think that Joe Friedberg's happy that he died one day before Willie Mays, so he didn't have to hear about it?
It blew him right off the front page.
Yeah, blew him right off the front page. But yeah, that was really hard to take because, well, first of all, Willie Mays was a Minneapolis Miller.
Yep. For about, 3 weeks?
I think it was about a few weeks.
And then Leo DeRocher said, he's coming up. I don't care that he's hitting 058.
Yeah, he's coming up. And didn't the owner of the team actually apologize to Minneapolis because they took him up so quickly?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think he
did show up. He showed up at Metropolitan Stadium once or twice when, and teams used to do this a lot, when the major league team would have a exhibition game with the minor league team.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that.
Yeah. So Willie was here. I guess I did see him play, but I must have been about 4 years old, so I don't really remember much.
So that was not at the Met Center then, or was it?
It was at Metropolitan Stadium. Yeah. So obviously,
Metropolitan Stadium.
yeah,
That's what
I
meant.
was probably 7,
You were probably 7 years old.
probably
Yeah, think
somewhere in
about
there.
that.
Yeah.
You know what I really hate about this, what you just said?
Hmm.
I just realized Willie Mays is only 20 years older than me.
That's
It
right.
made me very uncomfortable. I'll tell you that right
yeah.
there.
Well, it does make you think about it, doesn't it?
Oh, there's no question about that. You know, when you just said he was born in 1931, well, I was born in 1951. It's like,
And-
oh, God.
And for me, and a lot of people will say the same thing, for me, when it really all hit me that I was getting too old was when I would look at the back of a baseball card and the player would be born like, 10 years after me.
Yes.
I think, okay, yeah, that's it. I'm done.
It's hard to take.
Yeah.
No question about that. Yeah, it's really tough when in a situation you lose a friend and then one of the great legends of all time in a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
It's, well, that's life.
And
though. I
these
mean, it's
days,
just the way it is.
the media love to call people icons,
Yeah, they do.
but there
That's
haven't
true.
been that many. And
No.
Willie was definitely one of them.
There is no question about that. That's the one thing about baseball. Well, basketball, you got, I suppose every sport you got Lou Nanny's a legendary
Well, sure.
hockey player.
Well, absolutely.
See that whole deal. But no, it just reminds you that the clock is ticking. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
It just is. That's just how it is. So I just, we've gone through a lot of things already. It just keeps sticking in my head what you guys were talking about earlier, the fact that people are so mean to each other right now. I've talked to Andy about this before, Mike. I might have mentioned it to you, but we've never talked about it. How do people not understand? They can't possibly get it that even though we look the same, we're not the same. We've
Yeah.
had different lives, different experiences.
And that's supposed
Some
to be
good-
the best thing about this country, not the worst.
That's absolutely where I was headed. This is exactly why it got to be such a great country, and you're tearing it apart.
Yeah.
For I don't understand the reasons, and it's flat out anger, hatred, and viciousness.
Yeah.
Why?
I guess, there are a lot of ingredients, but it's about political power. It's
Yeah,
which
money.
in turn
money.
requires billions of dollars.
Yep.
And it just kind of goes on and on. It's just it's a spiral, and where does it stop?
I mean, we do not live the same life. I heard a commercial this morning, and I thought, well, I wonder what would happen if they put out a commercial that said the opposite thing.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what the commercial was for, but the line did jump out at me because everybody is so pissed off at everybody and hate. You can't say that. Oh my God, it's horrible. Blah blah blah. One of the lines in the commercial was, and what you're going to really love, the company is run by all women.
Yeah, that's the new thing. Is everything is women owned, women operated, women.
You know what would happen to you if you said the great thing about this place is it's all men.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they'd burn you at the stake if
Well,
you said that.
What if you said, I believe all men?
Yeah.
I mean, I believe all women is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
I couldn't agree more. Why did we get here?
How did we get there? Yeah. It's just, it is crazy.
I saw some figures last night that Donald Trump has a 16-point lead among men over women, but Biden has a 26-point lead with women over Trump. I mean, so men and women can't agree on anything.
I guess that's why it's a dead heat right now.
It is a dead heat right now because of that. That's exactly right. It comes and goes. There's an ebb and flow to all of it.
And we're about to be inundated.
Oh, it's going to be hitting.
Sure
You will
are.
not be able to watch television, listen to that thing we used to call radio.
Used to be, yeah.
You won't be able to do it without someone saying, Billy Nelson, he just doesn't get Minnesota.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, no question about it. And the number one thing is, and that's why I don't know. I think Trump is making a huge mistake even talking about abortion. You know what I mean?
Well, it's all about the impact it has on swing states.
Yeah, I know. It's what, 9 of them, I think. 9 big swing states, or 7.
Yeah, well, they
depends.
say the big 3 are the
Or
Great
the big
Lake,
3,
the Great
yeah.
Lake states.
Yeah,
So you got
go.
you got Michigan, Wisconsin. What's the third? Is it Ohio?
It sounds
No.
right.
Yeah, that's probably about
I
right.
didn't think Ohio was actually a swing state anymore, though. That's a
Well,
Republican
maybe not.
state.
Swing
Well,
states.
Minnesota's becoming more and more of a swing state.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know about that.
Well, no, they just say because women vote one way and men vote the other in Minnesota. I
Let's
guess.
see. What are the swing states?
There we go.
2 of them are Michigan and Wisconsin.
Yes, they are.
for sure.
No doubt about that.
I don't know. Maybe Pennsylvania is one of them.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
Really? So don't even mention Michigan?
I said Michigan.
Oh, you did say Michigan. I'm sorry. I guess I was listening for
So there's
Minnesota.
6.
They're really the pundits, for whatever they're worth, are really zeroing in on these 3 states.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are other swing states, but there's so many electoral votes in those 3 states.
You know what I really do hate, though, is the fact that people are falling for the fact that the one who spends the most money is going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fact. You spend the most money, you're going to end.
This
It's
is true.
always about money. Everything's about money.
Well, you can open the door with money for sure,
Yep.
but you have a little more trouble closing it with money.
Yeah, you got no chance closing it with money. There's no question
No.
about that. I get absolutely shocked by people and their greed. You know, you do this, that, or the other thing. Somebody will say, I'm going to do this, and if you don't like it, that's. I said, well, I don't like it, but you go ahead and be who you are.
Yeah.
And I just walk away from them. Then I find out I'm being hammered by them because I didn't argue with them about it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, sure.
I don't want to argue with you about this. So now I'm an even worse guy because I didn't tell you you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I don't really understand that. I mean, I could point out many things about some of these people. You are some of the stupidest people I've ever met, but I don't do that.
Yeah. Well, we are, as I have been forced to tell my children occasionally, I try to be optimistic, but sometimes I just have to say, son, I say this to all 3 kids, we're a nation of assholes and idiots.
Yeah, we are. I'm sorry, but
I don't want to
true.
believe that either. But
No, I don't either.
sometimes I do. I don't believe it all the time.
No, I
But,
understand
but,
exactly
you know,
what you're
look
saying.
at my dad. He was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So he kind of had that attitude.
Jewish heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. So remember that old country? I would just alter the old country song, which is that, heaven is Tulsa in my rearview mirror.
Oh, getting out of
That was
town.
a Mac
Huh?
Davis song.
Oh, I loved Mac Davis.
Yeah, it was originally it was Lubbock, Texas.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh, but it turned out. Oh,
Well,
really?
but for me,
Tulsa.
it's Tulsa
Yeah, for you it would be Tulsa. That's
or Minneapolis for that matter. But
Well, it's getting there.
but that was back then, and now it's kind of we're back again, huh?
Why can't we get people who, first of all, I mean, some of these things they're arguing about now, the 2 parties, why are you even arguing about that stuff? It's minuscule bullshit.
Well, it's the same old story, and that is that hatred is a lot more powerful than love.
It is, which is unfortunate. You know what's amazing about that? I'm glad you brought that up because I was talking about this the other day. And I think I did it on the morning show though. But I think I also repeated it on this show that I met Catherine 44 years ago. We were going to get married after 2 years, but then something, I don't know, the economy went in the tank or something. So we ended up getting married in 1984. So coming up in 2 weeks, it's our 40th wedding anniversary.
Mhm.
And Catherine and I always kiss and hug goodnight every night. And then both of us have to pet the dog after that because we didn't pay attention to the dog. So Jude
Well, at
gets
least you
pissed
got it
off.
in the right order.
Yeah, we got it in the right order. But it struck me as I was kissing and hugging my wife a few nights ago that I didn't think it was possible, but I love her now more than I ever have. I mean, I always thought that I had the highest level of love for her.
Mhm.
But then as we go along, you find out more and more things about how people have developed and all the rest of it. And she's a very tough woman. I adore this woman. I love her. Why can't other people be happy like that? Are most people just not happy in their relationships, you think, Andy?
I think a lot of them, yeah. I think a lot of people are in relationships just because they're afraid of being alone.
Well,
Yeah. I think that's true.
So I just got lucky by happening to run into Catherine at some point.
Well, I mean, you got married much older than average.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't
Although
get married till I
people
was
are
29.
getting married in older ages these days.
Well, the first marriage older, I should say.
yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, I know about this because you may not know this, but my wife and I recently lamented our 45th anniversary.
Yeah, more lamenting from you or her.
Both.
I
That's
haven't
the
read-
only thing we haven't in common. I won't go back to that joke again, but yes.
I used to run into her at Lunds and Barley's all the time, but I haven't seen her in a while. How is she?
Got me.
Yeah, no, well,
No,
I thought
I'm
your
just
kids
kidding.
might give you a tip.
No,
but,
yeah, she's okay. She's I know because I used to see her at Barley's
Oh yeah,
occasionally too, but I haven't seen
Yep.
her lately either.
I haven't
She
seen.
maybe
her
is
at
going
all.
at a different hour. I don't know.
Isn't when you're a little kid, you're told that loving people is very, very important. You know, even from a religious viewpoint, it's very important to
Yeah.
show love to others, love thy neighbor, that whole situation. As we've grown together, you know, Catherine and I do. I love her more, and I love the hell out of her from the time I met her. But it's at an all new peak now because I've watched her get through some. You know, being married to a public figure is not very easy.
Yeah, my wife would agree with that, and I was just barely a public figure.
Everybody knows who you are. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, listen. Here's what I'd say about that: fame is fleeting,
Uh-huh.
and obscurity is forever.
Forever, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's no question. You know, it's so funny how that's generational too. Like in one generation, everyone knows who you are. Next generation, they have no idea who you are.
Well, we can all use a little humility.
But that didn't happen when you and I were kids. George Burns was almost 100 years old
Yeah.
when I was a little
No,
kid.
you're right about that. Yeah.
And we used to pay a lot. I loved all those people.
Oh, Jack Benny,
Jack Benny.
George
yeah.
Burns.
Yep.
Yeah, same way. I remember all those great old comics, and I loved them all except for the Three Stooges and Laurel and Hardy.
I know you didn't like those.
Oh, I
guys,
just
but
couldn't take it. It was too depressing. But
not your
yeah,
kind of deal.
but you're right. Everything is really generational now.
You know what my first question is for younger people to see if I have anything in common with them?
Hmm.
You know who Rodney Dangerfield is? None of them
Oh,
know
man.
who he
My
is.
kids all, well, of course, my kids are not, they're not young,
Yeah,
but,
we're in our
Yeah.
40s now.
Yeah, they're
our
in their 40s.
generation,
Yeah.
and they love Rodney. Yeah.
or close at least.
And these people, after I explain, have you never seen Caddyshack? Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Well, that's Rodney Dangerfield. They don't pay attention to that kind of thing like we did.
Yeah.
You would always know who the big, Clark Gable, he was about 1 foot in the grave by the time I was old enough to know who he
Yeah.
was, but he was a great actor.
Yeah.
I mean, did he really climb up that mountain to carry his dead wife down or harmed wife? She wasn't dead. She was harmed.
I
in
think that was a
plane.
Hollywood.
You think that was a Hollywood
Just
lie?
like marriage for, yeah,
Just like marriage
for him and a lot of
Hollywood?
others. Yeah.
Carol Lombard crash site.
Yeah.
Oh,
What does it say?
Let's see. She was in a plane crash and she did die.
Yeah, and he carried her down the mountain, they say.
Let's see here. TWA Flight 3.
she was a looker.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, he was a handsome devil.
Well, yeah.
Frankly, frankly,
Frankly,
Maybe my idea.
I don't
Frank-
give a damn.
Frankly, my dear, I love you. Let's remarry.
Yeah, there you go.
That was the edited for seniors versions on The Simpsons.
Oh, that's
I love
funny.
you. Let's remarry because you don't want to break up a marriage.
So what do
It's
you got?
unwholesome.
What do you got as far as did he really climb up the mountain and carry your body down like they claim he did?
I don't think so.
That's a press agent. That's one of those the
Yeah.
Hollywood press agents.
I suppose. I suppose that is true, but
And
it's a
now-
great story.
Nowadays, if you talk to a 20-year-old guy and say, "Hey, have you heard of Cary Grant?" They would say, "What video game is he on?"
That's probably true. Yeah, do you know who Cary Grant is, don't you?
I recognize the name.
Yeah,
I don't know if let's see. Cary
great actor.
Grant.
Really good actor. He could do drama, he could do comedy, he could do it all.
I've never seen anything he was in.
Yeah, probably not.
I know about like Arsenic and Old Lace, obviously.
And a part of that is not just the generation, it's the fact that the world has blown up because of, because of Al Gore, because he invented the internet.
That's right.
He
I
did.
still love the fact that he claimed to have
Well,
invented the internet
he had something to do with the internet.
with the money part of it.
Was that what it was?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, like Cary Grant. The thing is, like for you guys, Cary Grant, his like most of his movies were probably in the 50s, right?
40s and 50s.
40s and 50s.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like 10 years ago before you, tops. So to me, that would be the 70s.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I mean, you know, that's not that far removed from your birth.
Oh no.
For me to know who Cary Grant is would be like you knowing who someone from the 20s is.
I think we do, though, Andy, because the scope of television, you know, we got our first television as a family when I was 4 years old.
Yeah, I was
Mm.
about the same age, maybe a little older.
Yeah.
My dad didn't believe in television.
No, radio and television. It was all you had.
It was all
electronically.
radio, yeah.
It was all radio and
And
television.
that's one reason I guess I
Yep.
was attracted by the
Yeah.
idea of radio.
Me too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's going to be eventually the death of radio.
I'll tell you who by far, my favorite actor was when I was like 8 years old. Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, she was fun. Yeah. Well, she wasn't a looker or anything, Mike.
Well, I guess.
You really had to struggle.
So I
with
know
that
what you're going
one.
to say because you like blondes and all that. And let's look. The great thing about her was, unlike a lot of actresses, she was like a size 10, right? She was
I
like a
think so.
normal build.
Yep.
And I have to say, she's the first woman I remember who I just kind of fell in love with. Let's put it that way.
Well, I could see that.
Yeah.
Her voice was a little annoying for me.
Well, a lot of times, of course, she made it annoying.
Yeah, she did. She did it on purpose. Is it true, speaking of women, beautiful women from that era, that when Jane Mansfield died, her head was taken off by that car accident?
It's myth.
It's
yeah.
myth. It never
it?
happened.
No.
I heard about that too. She went under a semi, right?
Under a semi
Yeah.
and it cut her
Yeah.
head off.
Yeah.
So that never happened.
I think she did go under the semi, but it didn't decapitate her. No.
Died in a traffic collision while traveling to New Orleans. Let's see here.
Because you remember all the bumper stickers? I
Oh.
break for Marilyn
Oh
Monroe's
yeah,
head.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Myth, total myth.
So it never happened, Andy.
Let's see. She was not decapitated, but she did suffer severe head trauma.
Yeah, but not decapitated.
Yes.
Because they were stories about her head rolling down
You're
the
right,
street
right.
and the whole
Yeah.
thing.
It's funny how these things just get exaggerated.
Yeah.
But to you can't really get decapitated from a impact like
Blunt
that
force.
unless they were going like 300 miles an hour.
Right,
You know, your
right.
head is designed to stay on there pretty well, no matter what happens.
We can close with this because I know, God, we've been almost an hour already, Andy. It's hard work, shoulder to the wheel.
We're at 57 minutes.
I know it's pretty damn cool, but now I forgot what the hell I was going to say in closing here.
I don't know.
You guys got any closing arguments?
All I can say is just in good spirits, because I'm seeing a lot of this these days.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep this. I see it on basketball court. When women are playing, I see it. I see it in politics. Here's the thing. Revenge is bullshit.
It really
Revenge
is.
is for losers.
Yep. I can't believe the way they're treating Caitlin Clark. I cannot believe they're pounding the piss out of that kid.
Well, and people say, well, they do that in the NBA, but that's not the NBA.
It's not the NBA. It's different.
It's not supposed to be like the NBA.
The W is important. It's not a silent letter.
Yeah, it's very true. All right. Are we all set?
I believe so.
That is going to do it. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Every time I hear the singing reminds me how you talking